Good morning, and welcome to episode 281 of Getting Rich. I'm your host, Rich Checken, president of Asset Strategies International, and today is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. Today will be new Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh's first FOMC, Federal Open Market Committee, presser. The majority of folks expect him to leave rates unchanged following their two-day FOMC meeting. Expectations are further that rates will be raised later this year in response to a consumer price index or CPI figure of 4.2% and a producer price index PPI figure of over 6%. My question for you is, do you believe that new Fed Chairman Kevin Warsh will be effective in restoring price stability and a stable labor market? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear why you think he might or might not be able to do so in his first year as the Fed Reserve Chairman. Personally, I am not convinced that he will be effective. The Fed has been mostly wrong for a very, very long time. I can't give credibility to an organization that has been as wrong as they have been for as long as they've been wrong. Let's go back to the pandemic. If you recall, and I don't know if they've ever admitted it, they created the pandemic. Okay, when Congress basically stopped everything in the way of our economy, and they went ahead and appropriated funds to be given out to folks to basically stay home, not work, and be unproductive. The only way that could be financed was by expanding the money supply hyperbolically, and the Fed and Treasury did that. Okay, so they created the inflation that followed. However, they didn't take responsibility for it. They first off said that they thought it was going to be a transitory thing, and that they really had no impact in creating that inflation. They played it down over time. They eventually blamed businesses for raising the prices of all the goods and services. They went on to blame Russia, even though all the increases in the prices had occurred or started to occur before Russia ever invaded Ukraine. And eventually they admitted that they had underestimated inflation. It was stickier than they had thought, and they acted too late in trying to control it. As a result, they went ahead and started cutting rates raising rates to go ahead and attack inflation. And they did that to a point. They never, ever got inflation down to their target of 2%. And then they started cutting rates again because, let's face it, we have a gargantuan debt. And when you raise interest rates, the service of that debt is immense. I mean, right now it is the largest line item on the Fed's budget. Okay. So the bottom line is, I believe that whether it be Powell or Warsh or anybody else you could put in that position, they are absolutely powerless to combat this problem. This problem has always started, and will always start with Congress. They spend more money than they take in. They operate on a deficit. As a result, they feed into and continue to grow that debt at an alarming pace. The only thing the Fed and Treasury can do to combat the fiscal irresponsibility of Congress is to go ahead and expand the money supply. And all that does is lead to consumer price inflation. So Congress is powerless, or Congress is not powerless. Congress makes the Fed powerless because they're not doing their job. Excuse me, they are poor stewards of our money supply. They are poor stewards of our economy. They are poor stewards of our dollar. Central banks understand this. They have been buying gold, shedding dollars and buying gold for years. 4 or 5 years now, central banks have been buying gold at an alarming rate, to the point now where gold is now the largest reserve asset, surpassing U.S. treasuries. The central banks understand what's going on and they are buying gold. You need to understand what is going on. You need to buy gold as well. You need to be your own central bank. We're going to get together tonight for our next edition of On the Move webinar. Adrian Day of Adrian Day Asset Management, my co-host, and I will be welcoming Mark Thornton of the Mises Institute. He's a senior fellow. They obviously support sound money, Austrian School of Economics. We will be talking about how are the right ways to overcome this massive debt and this horrible fiscal irresponsibility in Congress, and what you can do to protect yourself in this environment. So that is 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. On the Move, Adrian Day, myself, and Mark Thornton of the Mises Institute. And you can sign up for that webinar below this video. And I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to attend. Those that do will be treated to a special that we will be offering on precious metals going forward for those who attended the webinar. So make sure you're there, 7 o'clock tonight. As always, we want you to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us, send us your comments and questions. Tell me if you think Kevin Warsh is going to be effective. Again, I don't think so, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Follow us on social media. Take our twice weekly, always something interesting alerts, and our once monthly information line newsletter. But in the end, don't ever forget, getting rich starts with keeping what's yours.